Folks, the bye week is now officially over. Once Monday Night Football comes to a conclusion, the Buffalo Bills are going to be ready to begin preparing for the Carolina Panthers on Sunday. And I'm sure I speak for each and every single one of you. I hope that the Buffalo Bills figured things out because, quite frankly, we need to run the table. And luckily, I have been reflecting on years past, and the Buffalo Bills are known for dropping 2 games in a row. Some of us may still feel a bit pessimistic. It's very common. Like again, I had the opportunity of being able to look back at some comment sections from years past when Buffalo lost their almost annual back-to-back skid. And we see a lot of the same energy saying, oh, it's over, pack it up. Like this New England Patriots team is going to take the AFC East. Let's just walk back into the offseason. Hopefully we have a good draft for the love of God. Fire so-and-so, fire whatever. However, I pray to God that this team and this coaching staff does not have the same sentiment as a lot of Bills fans are having. I hope that they have locked in, they have looked at the remaining schedule, they see a challenge, and they are hell-bent on course correcting throughout the remainder of the season. Because if I don't have that mentality, why even watch for the rest of the 2025 year? I refuse to do that. I'm hoping my team can go out there and prove a lot of us wrong. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Don Mafia Report. Folks, I am live Monday through Friday at 10 a.m.-ish EST each and every single weekday. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up sign. It's the easiest way to propel this show out to the YouTube algorithm. I want to make sure that we continue to grow our live chat community because, as many of you know, I like to make you a part of the conversation each and every single episode. So without further ado, hit that thumbs up sign. And also do me a favor, shout yourself out in the chat. Let me know where you are tapping in from. What corner of the globe are you watching from this morning? Do not be shy. I'm talking to all of the lurkers in the building as well. Where are you tuning in from? I better see everybody roll call in the chat as we get down to business. I need to go ahead and give a giant shout out to some of our proud partners today, folks, starting off with our good friends, William Mattar. Folks, if you were ever hurt in a car, you have to call William Mattar, #1 car accident attorney in the state of New York. I would never wish a car accident on anybody, but say, for example, it does happen to you. Memorize this phone number on your screen. It's imperative to have the right representation. And look no further than my guy, William, staring you in the face right now. I also need to give a giant shout out to Sleeper Picks. Folks, Sleeper Picks, bar none, the best player prop platform on the market today. I was a big winner this previous weekend. I was able to really lock in on some player prop parlays since I was not distracted about my favorite team, the Buffalo Bills. Thankfully, I signed up when they were utilizing their $20 promo. As soon as when you sign up for it, link is in description, you get that free $20. Say, for example, you put down a deposit, they're matching it all the way up to 100%, all the way up to $100. You do not want to miss out on this. We have 2 great games this evening. There are a lot of low-hanging fruit and player prop promos. Do not miss out on this wonderful opportunity. Shout out to Sleeper Picks for being a proud partner of the show. Where's everyone tuning in from? Let's lock in, man. We have Gowanda, New York is in the building. Big Daddy D, he's in the van. Genoso, New York is in the building. Your boy Ash from the Bahamas. Orchard Park, New York. Kansas. Deltona, Florida. Florida, go Bills, baby. Bryce Young might not be playing on Sunday. Don't worry, we're going to be talking about that. I'm tuning in from Nashville, Tennessee. Endless 69. What's going on, my friend? Great name, by the way. Orchard Park, New York is in the building. Boston, Massachusetts. Baltimore area. Sad we didn't make a type of change this past week. We still have 2 weeks for the trade deadline. Have no fear. We're going to be talking about some things. Better not drop that Panthers game. You and I are on the same page, my friend. Boston is in the building. Dan, the man, what's good? Pats fan here. I come to watch your live from time to time. I am in Australia. Good evening to you, my friend. I appreciate you hopping in. Good win this past Sunday. Charlotte, North Carolina, going to the game this weekend. Go Bills. Zachary, I really hope you walk away with a smile on your face. We have Buffalo, New York is in the building. San Antonio, Nashville, Tennessee, Albany, Georgia. Oregon is in the building. Ohio, Memphis right now. Dexter, what's going on, man? Hope all is well with you. Bills play bad for 2 games each and every single year. That is certainly what we're trying to tell ourselves. And I think a lot of you would know if you follow me on X or you follow me on TikTok or Instagram at Real Dan Mitchell, by the way. You probably saw after the loss to the Atlanta Falcons, I was pretty pessimistic, almost out of character for myself. I have been known to sort of always look at it as a half full glass type of approach. But damn, I was hurt for the past 2 games. And you know what? I try reminding myself that this has happened for now like 3 years in a row where we just end up dropping back-to-back games. And I'm glad I had the weekend to reflect and look at things a bit more from an objective lens. And I'm feeling semi-decent about how the rest of the schedule is going to look, especially with how competitive this AFC has been. I think it's pretty hard to go out and find a fan base that is happy with their team's performance throughout the beginning of this season. There is a lot of like WTF type moments. There are a lot, like with this team's losing to a winless team on week 1, but then they look like juggernauts for a couple of weeks, and then they drop or they lay an egg on like Sunday Night Football, for example. A great example would be the Falcons last night against the San Francisco 49ers, who are literally living on the IR, and they hold the Falcons to only 10 points, probably putting salt into the wound even more so. And then, of course, maybe except for the Indianapolis Colts is probably one of the only teams I think where a fan base can feel really good about where that organization is going. But regardless, folks, the bye week is over, and the Buffalo Bills are in desperate need to fix quite a few things. And how I look at this, I have actually ended up putting together 5 changes I need to see from the Buffalo Bills going in to week 8. Now, it's easy as fans, as we're sitting on our armchair, as we're trying to say how we would do things differently if we were the defensive coordinator or the offensive coordinator. But I really think that these specific changes can put the Buffalo Bills on the right track. And I'm confident, as much gripe as we give this current coaching staff and regime, I think they understand the assignment. And I would not be surprised if they have the same thing written down for themselves, hoping to be able to implement it. But the first thing that I absolutely need this team to improve going into the season is, for the love of God, trust QB1. Trust the MVP of the league, Josh Allen. Right here is just a little glimpse into the past of what Josh Allen has been able to do. And this, unfortunately, was during a loss against the LA Rams this past season. But I mean, a 342 pass yard game, 3 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns. I'm not surprising any of you. We know that QB1 has this in him. And funny enough, it's not that I think that Josh is having a down year or going through a slump. I feel like that there's a lot of signs out there that the Buffalo Bills are moronically trying to hold back a couple of things that the Buffalo Bills offense does well. I do not think that this is a good mentality. I don't think that this is a good strategy, but for some reason, I just think that Joe Brady is trying to hold a couple of plays up his sleeve and saving it for November and December football. I absolutely hate this. But how they've been limiting and almost leashing Josh Allen for the past couple of games has been wildly frustrating. And I think some of the best examples were on several situations where Buffalo was sitting 4th and 2, 4th and 1, 3rd and 1. They fail and it's 4th down. I understand being somewhat conservative If you are deep into opponents' territories, sure, let's go on ahead and just punt the football away. But the biggest example that has been haunting me since this previous loss against the Atlanta Falcons was a 3rd and 2, and how in the world that the play call was not back-to-back tush pushes is still beyond me. Now, I'm fine with not really allowing Josh to stretch the field on certain occasions because, quite frankly, I don't think that we have the personnel that's going to be able to create consistent separation downfield. But there have been several examples where you have seen Joe Brady just not utilize his biggest weapon, and that just so happens to be Josh Allen, QB1. So, number one, first thing I would like to change, stop holding this kid back. Stop ignoring the best play that we have in short yardage situations, the tush push. I understand that Sean McDermott voted against it. He wanted to ban it, although that we were one of the most utilized teams in that sphere last year with that play. Use it. Use it. If that's what we need to get this offense going, get this man involved. Ignoring weapons has definitely been a trend for this team thus far. And quite literally, we really only have 2 weapons on this team. That's Josh Allen and that's James Cook, which is my second thing that must be fixed on this team almost immediately. Use James Cook. For the love of God. I ultimately ended up seeing a statistic where they were comparing the first 4 games of the Buffalo Bills season, where James Cook had well over 21 carries or over 20 carries. And in all of those games, not only did Jimbo have well over 100 all-purpose yards, but we ultimately ended up winning the game. For the past 2 weeks, we've seen James Cook carries go from 16 to 17. And look, when you're looking at it from a strategic standpoint, I suppose I understand where this coaching staff is coming from. Maybe they don't trust James Cook in 3rd down situations. Hence why we saw so much of Ty Johnson out on the field this previous Monday versus the Atlanta Falcons, because number one, we were getting a lot of pass rush. We needed that extra blocking. Ty Johnson is a hell of a lot more well-suited for that responsibility. But literally no excuse to not have James Cook well over 20 carries each and every single game. If he was getting bullied, if he was getting stopped to about 2 to 3 yards per carry, then I could understand that, right? Like maybe go on ahead and throw Ray Davis out there for the love of God. Maybe throw Ty Johnson out there in a couple of run plays if necessary. But that was just not the case. With James Cook was still averaging, damn near 5.1 to 5.2 yards per carry. And then all of a sudden, we just completely said, never mind. We're just going to try and spray the field, although Josh is having an average of 1.5 seconds to find the open man downfield. Oh, and guess what? And so our wide receivers really can't create consistent separation. We need to make sure that James Cook is the focal point of this offense. If, for example, you don't want Josh to play superhero ball each and every single season, at least use the one weapon that could be his insurance policy. Use James Cook. 3rd down, I know a lot of us are kind of concerned about, oh my God, 3rd down. Like, I don't trust James Cook in pass blocking like situations. Sometimes you have to roll the dice, man. He's so shifty. He has elite vision. He is an automatic 5 to 6 yards per carry. If James Cook were to have 7 to 8 more attempts last week, I think we would be talking in an entire different sense going into week 8. In fact, I think we may have even won that game. Why James Cook was leashed on Monday night, I have absolutely no idea. But number 2 for this team, for the love of God, make sure that James Cook is utilized. RB1. Use him in 3rd down situations. That's what we need. And if Ty Johnson is out there on 3rd down, utilize him in the pass game. We paid Ty Johnson this offseason. Why has he not been utilized like a guy that just ended up getting a 2-year extension to be an RB3? Have to figure it out. Now, number 3, we've got to figure something out about this run defense. My God, we have to figure something out about this run defense, folks. Unfortunately, I was brought to the attention of how bad this run defense truly is. And it's not a shock. It's pretty clear. I feel like anybody that has eyes can tell that Buffalo, their Achilles heel has been stopping some of the NFL's elite rushing attacks across the league. But it's a lot worse than we thought, folks. Where it stands, the Buffalo Bills are by a country mile the worst defense in stopping running backs in the yards per carry sense. 5.8 yards per carry. The next worst team is the Chicago Bears at 5.3. If you wanted to take a look at where the Buffalo Bills are for letting up long runs, guess what? Worst in the league by a country mile. Once again, 81 yards was the longest rush that Buffalo has let up all season. Now, what makes things interesting in my eyes is how bad would this number in yards per carry be at 5.8 if Buffalo did not regularly let up a 30-plus yard run seemingly each and every single week? We look back at the Derrick Henry run in week 1. We look back in the Bijan Robinson run this past Monday. How bad would it be? Let me tell you what the problem is here, folks. The problem is the defense in and of itself. Run fits are a big issue. Missed tackles are a massive issue. And communication within the secondary is an issue. I think we can actually look back into how Buffalo is struggling in just yards before contact. And that's completely throwing everything for a loop. So I'm encouraged because we're seeing Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi coming back. I think that having a more consistent rotation on the defensive line is certainly going to help. Perhaps that ends up improving the communication we're seeing from the secondary out on the field. For the love of God, we need to see this type of improvement. But something's got to give for this defense. It's growing pains here. And I think I might have a way to diagnose it. Who remembers all off season we were sitting here and we were talking about how excited we were by bringing in Mike Pellegrino, okay, the nickel coach, and how excited we were for bringing in Ryan Nielsen as the senior defensive assistant. While at least from the top bottom, we have Bobby Babich is still the defensive coordinator for this team. We had a couple of changes specifically within our positional coaches. I wonder if this is a growing pains type thing. I wonder if this is the reason why we're seeing players like Christian Benford have a down year. We're seeing players like Bernard have a down year. Taron Johnson have a bad year. I'm not going to be mad at Tre'Davious White. We know who Tre'Davious White is. What are our realistic expectations for a guy that was supposed to be CB3 on the outside, right? You had Maxwell Harrison with a knee injury. He's been out since training camp. Strong, if he weren't to have a neck injury, he probably would have surpassed Trey White on the depth chart. I really think that this Buffalo Bills team is going through a bit of growing pains. I think that they really need to look at their run fits. I think that they need to stack the box a bit more. I think Larry Ogunjobi, I think Michael Hoyt coming back. I think the rise of Deion Walker has certainly helped. And I think that these guys really need to make sure that all of this defensive personnel gets on the exact same page from their specific philosophy, because sometimes when there's issues and it's hard to explain, you have to look at some of the key differences between 2024 and 2025. And I think both of these guys are something to consider. I really, really do. But that's number 3 for me. It's the Buffalo Bills need to figure something out. We need to take better angles and tackling. And I really hope that once we get healthy on the defensive side of the football, this just ultimately ends up solving itself. because have no fear here, guys. All right. We are going up against a pretty good rushing offense against Carolina this past Sunday. This Carolina football team is on a 3-game win streak. What can we do? How do we do it? That's all but next. Next up, man, have to rotate this defensive line how we intended to rotate this defensive line. Now, this is no fault of the Buffalo Bills. No one thought that Ed Oliver was going to miss 5 games after having a career year or a career game against Baltimore. Thank God he's back. No one thought that Daquan Jones was going to pull his calf in pregame warmups. That was less than ideal. No one thought that Michael Hoyt or Larry Ogunjobi were going to be signed to this team, only to find out both of them are serving 6-game suspensions based off of performance-enhancing drugs. But now that we have everybody back, at least seemingly, and so I guess we'll see what Daquan Jones looks like, we have to have a better rotation on this line. Because, hear me out, we're still a great pressuring D-line. We get pressure. Like, we're top 5 in the NFL right now for generating pressure on opposing quarterbacks. Finishing the job is a different conversation. Say that a team can run the ball at you like Will, right? Like, that almost makes defensive linemen hesitant. I have a feeling now that we have these pieces coming back, hopefully Daquan's good, this rotation should be solved. And for the love of God, this young man right here has deserved way more snaps. He is a force out there, ladies and gentlemen. He is performing well as a 1-tech. He is performing well as his opportunities as a 3-tech on this team. Deon Walker is one of the most best players we have gotten from this draft class. I'm not sure if that just goes to show you how bad this draft class has been. Perhaps no fault of the Buffalo Bills front office at all, since it's just been super unlucky. But he's been one of the few bright spots of this team. He's earned it. Get him out there, 1st and 2nd downs. Because what's hurting Buffalo is these 3rd and short situations. He's an impact player. Just go on ahead and commit to it. You have Daquan Jones. He's a pending free agent next offseason. I think that it's pretty clear that Deon Walker and Ed Oliver need to be the focal point of this interior defensive line. I think that all of us are on the exact same page. Shout out to Deon Walker, man. He's been playing well. Get this defensive line rotation going. Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi should be able to solve a lot. Maybe we'll start putting QBs on their ass. Last but not least, the number one thing I need this Buffalo Bills team to work on, penalties, man. The Buffalo Bills went from the least penalized team in the league for the first 3 games of the season, and then ultimately ended up collecting, 20 plus within a 2-game period. I don't know what it is. It is just undisciplined football. It's Deion Dawkins. It's the offensive line, a bunch of pre-snap penalties. It's holdings. It's pass interferences. And folks, we can all think about, right? So we can all say, oh my God, it's the refs. It's their problem. Like, they're just rigging the game so the Buffalo Bills can lose 2 straight. Guys, look, out of every single penalty that was called against Buffalo for the past 2 weeks, we earned that. It's just dumb football. Get us back into our discipline type football. Don't add over a football field of penalty yards that we need to overcome, and all will be well. All will be well. I'm not sure if some of these starters are just feeling some type of way because they don't trust their teammates, or whether or not that they're getting caught up in the heat of the moment, but I've seen this team operate the way that they have. I've seen this team operate in disciplined football. I've seen them have penalty-free games, 1 or 2 penalties. I know it's in them. Get back to that. So to recap, folks, 5 things I need this team to improve. Trust Josh Allen. Number 1, trust this man, especially in 3rd and short and 4th and short situations. He's the MVP for a reason, and you're paying him $380 million. For the love of God, trust him. Number 2, let James cook. Why the hell are you not utilizing him in the fourth quarter when he's averaging 5.6 yards per carry? He is one of the only consistent weapons we have on this team. How dare you shelve him? Make him a focal point of this offense. Number 3, have to fix the run fits. Absolutely have to. Thank God that we have some reinforcements coming back. I think Buffalo should improve with that this upcoming week. Rotate the defensive line. Get Deion Walker more snaps. He deserves it. And last but not least, limit the penalties. Fix all of those things. I think Buffalo has a wonderful opportunity of being able to run the table. There are the 5 things I need for the Buffalo Bills to fix their season. Let's go ahead and see what the chat's got to say here for a little bit. Shout out to anybody that put out a super chat, man. Watch out for viewers. Tua is benched. You should not be rooting for any wins from your team, dude, especially if you're trying to make sure that you can get that first round pick. When you watch other teams, you see the physicality of the wide receiver and DBs. We are soft. All the coaching in the world is not going to help if we don't have dogs. Get it done. Yo, Dan, good morning. Sammy, what's going on, man? Hope all is well. Falcons game was obviously a result of discipline, bad officiating too, and poor conservative coaching from Buffalo. Absolutely, man. Look, it's the same story. It's a different year. Hopefully we run the table after this. What happened to our defense? I had no idea. I remember like 3 years ago, the Bills had a number 1 defense. I don't know what happened. It's truly a great question. I think that there's a lot of there was a lot of turnaround right within some of the positional coaches. So we have a brand new, a defensive assistant in Ryan Nielsen, who a lot of people were excited about. I wonder how much of an effect he has. Maybe he's implementing something new that's confusing some of the guys. We have Mike Pellegrino. He's the nickel coach. Maybe, for example, he's implementing something that's kind of putting all of their communication in a whack. Like, you see a lot of this secondary and this Buffalo Bills defense look completely confused on very basic coverage schemes. So I think it boils down into trust. I don't know if Buffalo is kind of reverting back to something that they're unfamiliar with, but the questions are going to be there, man. That is kind of what it looks like for me. But I'll tell you what, why I feel confident that the Buffalo Bills are going to go on a heater right now is history, baby, is history. We have all been discussing exactly what makes us feel confident about this Buffalo Bills team for like last week, right? And we say, look, it's history. So the reason that the Buffalo Bills, or why we should feel confident, is because, number 1, the Buffalo Bills lost back-to-back last week. Some of you may look at that and say, oh, no, Dan, like that's not enough. Like this feels a lot different. Something that should make all of us feel wildly confident about this upcoming week is the fact that Sean McDermott and Josh Allen are undefeated coming off of a bye. Now, we could look at this as semantics. And we could say, oh, like this is like Mickey Mouse stuff. This is Disney Channel original movie type hope core, Dan. Let's not read too much into this. But say that this was 3 games. They're undefeated coming off of the bye. Maybe I would get that. Maybe I would understand. But this team is a team that just goes absolutely nuts after the bye. In 8 games under McDermott, and the Bills have averaged 27.5 points and never scored less than 20. Last season was quite a different feel than this year heading into the bye. In 2024, the Bills beat the Chiefs at home in Week 11 to head into their off week with a record of 9-2 and a ton of momentum. This season needs more of a wake-up call, completely a reset. But if anybody is trying to get excited about the trend that we see from this Buffalo Bills organization, here it is. Look at all the scores that you are just salivating over. In 2017, Bills 30, Bucks 27, Bills 24, Jags 21, Bills 31-21, And most recently, we had the Buffalo Bills put an absolute shellacking against the 49ers, 35-10. Now, don't get me wrong, we're going to be going up against a team that, in my opinion, is a bit better than their record suggests. This team in the NFC South, semi-decent defense, right? Especially when it comes into against the run. And this is the Carolina Panthers. Granted, I will be making a full-scale preview later in the week. But they're 4.1 yards per rush. That's 13th. So it's not a terrible run defense. We'll see what Cook does. Rush yards per game, only allowing 92.6, like middle of the road. And then you also have the Carolina defense, who's semi-decent against stopping the pass, right? Only allowing quarterbacks 59% of the pass. And that just speaks to J.C. Horn and some of these other players right within their secondary at the end of the day. But you can't deny the numbers. And the numbers are suggesting that Josh Allen and Sean McDermott are unbeaten. And this is a perfect opportunity for Buffalo to go into Carolina and improve to 5-2. And I think a lot of us can admit that looking at the standings, 5-2 is going to look a hell of a lot better than 4-3, or 5-2 makes us feel a lot better than 4-2. This fan base absolutely needs it. Can Josh Allen figure it out? I genuinely believe that he can. Because you know what? His statistics are interesting to me. Because I am not afraid to criticize QB1. I am not. Last week against Atlanta was largely his fault. Very much so, like how the Ravens game and the Houston Texans game last season was his fault. He is not immune from criticism. That's something I think Bills fans need to begin to understand, right? But funny enough, I was curious. I asked Sumer Brain, which, as many of you guys know, is the chat GPT of football statistics. And I was curious to see the comparisons from Josh Allen's first 6 games to now. And surprisingly enough, minus the interception piece, which we'll get to here in a second, all of it is drastically improved from his 6 games last year. And he won the MVP last year. In 2024, he was only completing 62.8% of his passes. This year, he's completing 68.5% of his passes throughout the first 6 games. Passing yards was only at 1,100. Now he's at 1,397, just a couple away from 1,400, right? Passing touchdowns, he has 1 more than he did at this point last year. He had 0 interceptions in 2024. He has 4 this year, which is something that clearly needs to be addressed. We cannot have Josh revert back into being careless with the football. For the love of God, Josh Allen, we need you to take what the defense gave you. That was the offense we ran last year, and we scored 30 points more than any other team in the NFL. Do not fix what is not broken. And as far as yards per attempt, 7.4, that's turned into 7.8. Dare I say, maybe we need to get back into the taking everything underneath and allowing our guys to get some yards after the catch. As far as rushing attempts, that's even better. You have 35 last year throughout the first 6, 46 in 2025, 178 rush yards in 2024, 254 in 2025. And he has 3 rushing touchdowns. That's tied from last year. So there's no regression from what we're seeing from the QB. So I think that we should all be confident that he's due for a I told you so, have a little bit more confidence in this team. Now, the one thing I think that a lot of Bills fans were upset about was this. More than a football player. So many of you guys know, leading up into the Monday night game against the Atlanta Falcons, we saw Josh Allen sit down with some journalist. He was talking about him getting married to Haley Steinfeld. And he said, you know what? Maybe I'm more than just a football player. And people started reflecting back on when Deion Dawkins would say, oh, there are no expectations, or, oh, like we don't need to win a Super Bowl, or something like that. Maybe I'm putting words in their mouth, but it was something along those lines. And people are getting very very upset with this overall sentiment. Being like, what do you mean? Like, we're paying you well over $380 million. You need to be a football player for us. You need to bring a Lombardi to the Buffalo Bills. So, in my opinion, I think that this is largely a non-story. Like, look, guys, and this is going to be a tough pill to swallow, but at the end of the day, like, these players, regardless, don't owe us anything. If they owe anybody anything, it is the owners of the NFL organizations. It is so the coaching staff, etc. But all of them are human beings, right? All of them are human beings. They're just going out there and they're doing their jobs and having the expectations of millions of people, right? Isn't always as gung ho as we would like for it to be. I don't think that Josh meant, I don't care. I have my money. I met my wife. I realized that's what's the most important thing on earth. I don't think that that is the case at all. I think that Josh still very much wants to bring a Super Bowl to Buffalo. I think Deion Dawkins does as well. I think after a loss, I feel like whatever players say, you could dissect it and make them the villain in this overall situation. But I genuinely believe that this is a non-story for all of this. Don't worry about Josh saying he's more than just a football player. In retrospect, he probably is, right? He's a husband now. I'm sure he wants kids. But I'm not all that much concerned when it comes into it. But going back, like I said, I think this Buffalo Bills team is going to bounce back after the bye. We can look at some of these statistics and we can look at, oh, yeah, we dropped back to back the past couple of years. Even if you don't want to buy into that statistic, I feel like we can buy into the fact that this team is wildly productive when it comes into after the bye. And I think that we have a pretty good matchup against the Carolina Panthers. You had Bryce Young roll his ankle against the Jets last week. More than likely, we're going to be getting Andy Dalton. Hopefully, this defense can turn it around. But you cannot deny the effectiveness of Sean McDermott and this Josh Allen-led team after the bye. 5-2 feels a hell of a lot better than 4-2, and a hell of a lot better than 4-3. That much I can tell you. Let's get into this for a second. God forbid somebody takes an introspective look at themselves and thinks they're more as an individual than their occupation. For sure, man. You know, like, so I feel like his job and our jobs are no different, minus the fact that he's getting paid a hell of a lot more. Great. But like, still, like, so a human being is not just their occupation. So I honestly think that Bills fans were looking far too much into it. And I have a feeling once we end up going 5-2 this Sunday, everyone's going to forget. And if, for example, we go out and beat the Kansas City Chiefs at home, I feel like we're going to be riding this wagon once again. What in recent history makes you think this team can win a Super Bowl, let alone make one? If you think they are bouncing back after this, then shouldn't you believe they won't be good enough to win the Super Bowl? It's because, so I refuse to look at it like that, right? Say that I truly believed that no matter what happened, that the Buffalo Bills are going to lose the Super Bowl this year and we are going to be in the same position as we have been for the past 7 to 8 years. Why would I watch? If somebody truly has that mentality, I would love to understand why you watch in the first place. I typically don't set out to view something I know that ruins my energy. I genuinely like giving this team the benefit of the doubt. I like being able to just identify them as the team that is playing on the screen at any given week. Because anything can happen in this league. Anything can happen in this league. Look at the state of the AFC. Right now, you have the Indianapolis Colts in first place, the Patriots in second, the Chargers in third, and the Denver Broncos, I believe, in like sixth or something along those lines. So who in their right mind would have thought that the AFC was looking like that? Anything could happen in this league. It's week 8. And so when I look at this Buffalo Bills team, Great team in November and December statistically. You would think that we would get healthy at the right time. And quite frankly, so when I look at our past playoff blunders, and so I think one of the biggest things that has hurt us were players that were injured. All I can do is just hold on to hope that this team can maintain some type of semblance of health going into the playoffs. Then maybe that's the difference. Maybe that's the difference. Good morning, Dan from sunny St. Cloud, Florida. I want you to know you will not have to shave your head. Bills will take the AFC Eats. Pats are good, but Bills are better. Go Bills. Yeah, funny enough, I did make a bet with Colby. I said that I am still so confident that the Buffalo Bills win the AFC East that if I am wrong, I will shave my head on stream. So I will have a buzz cut if, for example, the Buffalo Bills do not win the AFC East. That's how confident it is, because you guys know that I love my luscious locks on top of this dome. There's no way. Will you ever have the Garage Beer hotline open? Oh, yeah, most definitely, man. We have the Garage Beer hotline open. It's just sporadically, right? Like normally I do it after a game. Sometimes I'll do it during the preview. Have no fear. It's around. Just make sure you're tuning in each and every single episode, and I'll give you that opportunity. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow. Yeah, maybe we'll do it tomorrow. I just like incorporating it when there's like a big topic that we're all discussing. So, damn. So the biggest question I think a lot of us have had is, what are the Buffalo Bills going to do during the trade deadline? And I got to tell you something I heard. Something through the grapevine, something I think you guys might find interesting. It might upset you, actually. But what should the Buffalo Bills do during the trade deadline? Is Brandon Beane going to make a move? Now, something that really bothers me is some people are a part of the camp of the Buffalo Bills don't do anything during the trade deadline, or Brandon Beane doesn't make a move to help this team out at any given season. First off, I think that is just a silly thing to say. There are countless examples of Brandon Beane going out and bringing in additional help for this Buffalo Bills squad, right? Last year, we brought in Amari Cooper. I know that it didn't work out. Hindsight is 2020, of course. But if you were to look at the sentiments from fans, everyone was freaking out, being like, hell yeah, Beane, I always knew you had it in you. No one can predict injuries. He got injured, but his presence was still enough for this offense to take that next step. The year before, we ended up bringing in Rasul Douglas. That was when we saw Tre'Davious White go down with an injury. Everyone was like, hell yeah, we have Rasul Douglas. That fixed our CB2 position. We've seen Brandon Beane hit a home run in the offseason, or at least a foreseeable home run with Von Miller. Guys, look, no one thought that Von Miller was going to tear his ACL 6 games into his contract. Nobody did. That was a home run move, right? Trading for Stephon Diggs. Nobody would have thought, all right, that like he would have became an issue in the locker room 3 to 4 years down the road. So Beane is active during the trade deadline. He is active. He is always wanting to add to this roster and improve it. I think that he is going to. But based off of what I heard a couple of days ago, and this is exclusively from what I'm hearing, a lock and change. The trade deadline is not until November 4th. I heard this, that the Bills are reportedly not active in the trade market with the exception of Chris Olave. And by active in the trade, it does not mean that the Saints are interested in moving them. By active, I meant that they have called and they have inquired about the wide receiver. As many of you guys know, per Diana Rossini, sounds like the Saints are interested in finding a long-term contract extension for Chris Olave. That was prior to their game against the Chicago Bears yesterday. But from what I understand, from what I have heard from my source, is that Buffalo, for the most part, has been crickets as far as going out and showing that they're interested in bringing in help to this organization, all but with the exception of Chris Olave. Now, lock and change. If Buffalo goes out there and we start seeing a lot of issues on the defensive line, or if we see a lot of issues in the secondary, we suffer another injury, then maybe this front office gets a fire under their booty and they start making some additional calls. But I don't think it's time for us to freak. Again, this trade deadline is not until November 4th. And I figured we should go through a couple of players I think that should be brought in to help this team. And I hate to tell you here, guys, there's really not a lot of names that I think are going to significantly improve this team, at least players that I think are realistically available. The best option is the guy that you're looking at, and this is Chris Olave. Will the New Orleans Saints, will they say, never mind about the long-term extension? We were all getting excited about how Spencer Rattler was playing for the first couple of weeks of the season. Maybe the straw that breaks the camel's back was his performance against the Chicago Bears last night. Maybe they look at that and they say, you know what? Maybe we can go on ahead and just shell off Chris Olave and we can get some additional picks next year for Kellen Moore to really work with something. I genuinely believe that this is the guy that would be the best for the Buffalo Bills offense. And looking into it, guys, like one of the biggest things we have from the Buffalo Bills, like one of the biggest complaints that we have is wide receiver separation. I was able to pull the statistics of all of the separation from Buffalo Bills wide receivers all season long. And then I also pulled the separation from players that I believe or that Bills Mafia has been really discussing on social media. As you can see, we have Shakir with 3.8 yards in separation. He's a slot. That's common with slot receivers. You typically see them have a hell of a lot more separation. It's based how defenses play slot receivers. You have Keon Coleman at 2.7, Josh Palmer at 2.2. Who knows when he's coming back? And Dalton Kincaid at 3.4. Similar situation with slot receivers, with tight ends typically have more separation due to how defenses play them. So here are the separation metrics from the names that I see from fans of like what wide receiver they think that could be brought in that is going to completely elevate our team. And as you can see, not much of a difference between a lot of them, right? Maybe 0.2, 0.3 yards. Maybe that solves it. I don't know. It's only 6 games so far this season, but it's something to consider. You have Jalen Waddle at 2.9 yards. You have Jacoby Myers at 2.9. A.J. Brown at 1.9. Chris Olave, 3.2. And Rashid Shaheed at 2.8 yards. Now, if you remember, we were able to look at a couple of these players and we were able to identify, could Buffalo afford these guys? Could they afford them? And the players that we could afford is Chris Olave, who on the coincidental side has the best separation out of all the names that we are looking for. That, I believe, would be at around $680,000 right now for a cap hit. And then next year, I want to say, is his club option. So we would need to owe him, I think it was like 12 or 13 million in a salary. That could very well be done. We could go out with Chris Olave and we could extend him next offseason and limit all of the cap implications immediately. It would not cost us very much at all this year. Same thing with Jalen Waddle. This is probably one of my favorite targets for the Buffalo Bills. But will Miami end up shelling him off to a divisional rival? It depends, right? Like, where does this Miami Dolphins team really see their future going? How Mike McDaniel still has a job this morning, right now, as we are speaking, is a massive surprise to me. Will Chris Grier still be the GM over here? If Miami thinks that their rebuild is going to be longer than 3 years, I think that they would entertain a divisional trade with the Buffalo Bills. It's going to cost some money. It would probably cost a first-round pick. It would probably cost a second the following year. But at this point, why are we guarding a first-round pick so much? Because last time I checked, last first-round pick we've had that has really paid dividends has been Josh Allen, and that was in 2018. And that's no fault of Brandon Beane. And because I regularly hear people say, Oh, no, it's Bean. He just can't hit in the first round. Guys, I hate to tell you, but after the first 15 picks of an NFL draft in the first round, it's a crapshoot. It is a glorified second round pick. There are never 32 first round grades in the NFL first round almost ever. And the Buffalo Bills are just a team that is luckily to be semi consistent. And we never have a better draft pick than 26 or 27. So at my point, or my perspective, I'm saying screw those picks. Go out and potentially get Jalen Waddle onto this team. Followed by Myers. He would also be affordable. But again, guys, he runs a 4.6 as far as a 40-yard dash. So if you're looking for speed, he's not going to be giving that to you. In fact, I think a Jacoby Myers makes a lot more sense to the New York Giants. Who knows if the New York Giants are even buyers at this point based off of that collapse. You have A.J. Brown as well, 1.9 yards of separation. He finally had a pretty solid game last week. I'm not sure if Philadelphia is still interested in moving on from the wide receiver. We had Olave and Shaheed as well, who is just going to be another RB2 for this squad. So who knows where Buffalo's head is at? I would very much like us to target a wide receiver. Like with Chris Olave would be a dream. Would absolutely be a dream. So if the Saints are serious right now, and you know what? For all we know, this Saints team is just throwing out that we're strongly considering an extension for Chris Olave as a smokescreen to elevate his asking price. That's always on the table. I don't know. But out of every single wide receiver that we're looking at the trade deadline of a specific player that not only do I think takes our offense to the next level, it opens up everybody else. We can afford it. I feel like Chris Olave and or Jalen Waddle are the only two that I would really be interested in. Some people are talking about Garrett Wilson. Perhaps that would make a little bit of sense. But, I mean, really, at the end of the day, what can you do, right? Front seven could be interesting as well. Say, for example, we wanted to go out and grab another linebacker. Because quite frankly, folks, when we look at our linebacking core, best linebacker we've had all season is Shaq Thompson, 32 years old. He's been the best linebacker we've had. We've had Bernard struggling. We've had Matt Milano unable to stay on the field healthy. I know, surprise, surprise. So are we going after a linebacker, right? Are we going after a safety? Maybe we go out and we sign Justin Simmons, the free agent. Maybe we go out and get so that 149er safety, right? Who's found his way below the depth chart. Like maybe we end up going out and signing Asante Samuel Jr., although that he has been very injured, right? And like has a very scary injury apparently, because that's the only reason that I could explain how he hasn't been signed yet. But my thought is this. I genuinely believe that this defense is more than just a player away. I really think that that's the case. All we can do is hope that these players coming off of injury, coming off of suspension, can fix it. And even if all of them came back, I still think we're not a player away. From the offensive side of the football, I believe we are a player away. I genuinely believe that all we are is one wide receiver that can open up everything that defensive coordinators have to plan against, which completely opens up our playbook. So when people are like, oh, no, Dan, we need defense, I'd agree with you. But the fact that we only have $2 million, we could probably only afford to make one move at the trade deadline. Maybe sign a fringe free agent who's not going to be any type of star power. So if we're limited from a cap perspective, it's got to be a wide receiver. My 2 votes, Chris Olave / Jalen Waddle, get it done. But more than likely, I'm sure we'll end up getting Jacoby Myers. So those are the targets for the trade deadline. Sound off in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. With our limited cap space, who would you be targeting? That is the question. Let's go ahead and get into this chat real fast, man. How is everybody doing? Question. If we get another wide receiver, Will we be cutting one? No, we could very much end up like shaving from somebody else. Well, wow. No pun intended. So I have no idea how extensive this Josh Palmer injury is. I think that we're going to be hearing some IR moves. We technically have one open spot on this roster right now, technically, because we had two guys added to the IR. It was DeMar Hamlin and TJ Sanders. That's likely going to fill in for Hoyt and Ogunjobi to be added to this roster. And since we ended up getting rid of Chiarlo, we have one open spot. So what does that mean? So do we bring in Gabe Davis? So do we bring in like somebody else? Is this opening up space for a trade move? I don't know. We had Asante Samuel Jr. had neck fusion surgery. He should be cleared within a few days. Maybe it's him. Dude, maybe it's him, man. We will find it. Go get chosen Robbie Anderson. Oh, my God. We're telling jokes right now, man. We are telling jokes right now. Let's go, boys. It's time to refocus and refresh and go on a heater. Dude, it's time. It's been time. It's been time for this Buffalo Bills team. We have had our bye week. That is all that matters. Let me see. And keep running the damn ball. We don't separate at the line. And by the time some of them do, Allen has moved on from their read. Statement is in the building. I think that the new D-line rotation that McDermott has planned for the two suspended coming back will take a lot of pressure off of the secondary. But I'm hoping Max comes back fully healthy, not half injured. Look, we are all going to be looking at where Max Harrison is right now. Say, for example, he's not activated right now or this week. Wednesday, I believe, should be the first press conference. Then I think we start asking questions. Say that I'm a gambling man. I have a feeling that he will be activated this week. Dan, I'm so pumped for Sunday, man. Very confident in our team to get back on track. Obi-Wan, I hope so. We have DJ Moore. It's tough for me to see the Bears walk away from DJ Moore, especially since they've won, like 4 straight. So winning 4 straight is kind of hard for me to, suggest that they would. Dan, and did we not get Gabe Davis back this offseason? Why is he not used? Because he has been helping us a lot in clutch moments. He was injured. He was added to the practice squad, but he was still injured. I have not heard of his overall recovery process. Maybe he's good to go now. Don't be surprised. I think Gabe Davis will find his way onto this roster eventually. How would you feel about the Bills letting Josh Allen call plays? Also, I think the Buffalo Bills must give James Cook more touches, rushing and receiving, run Jimbo, and get back on track offensively. You bring a great point. And it's not so much of this offense letting Josh Allen run plays, but this is something I need to see out of QB1. If Josh Allen doesn't like a play, he needs to sack up and call an audible at the line. Like, he needs to sack up and call an audible at the line. That's what we saw some of these great veterans of the past do their entire career. If Josh is going to get reamed out in the locker room by the coaches at halftime for going against their wishes, or if he's going to get some sort of backlash, he needs to call audibles at the line if the damn plays don't make sense. If Josh hears one more BS end-around play on 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2, I want QB1 to step up to the line, call an audible, and make them do the tush push. That is exactly what I would like for him to do. He's been on this team for long enough. It's year 8, right? It's year 8. Call the audible. If, for example, that Joe Brady's going out there and he's calling a head-scratching move that he doesn't believe is going to work, like, he just needs to take things into his own hands and call it how it is. And this offense plays way better in a hurry, in my opinion. Always does, my friend. Use Cook in the passing game more. We drafted him because he is a matchup nightmare, and we don't even utilize the advantage. That, and we also don't use Ty Johnson in the passing game, where he is absolutely incredible. He's wonderful in the pass game. And we paid him a 2-year extension. And we haven't seen a lot of him, which is pretty crazy. A wide receiver one is needed with Love Olave or Waddle, regardless of the first round pick price. Also need to get Cook involved a lot more. Oh my God. I agree. MTM Family Adventures. I totally agree. Dan, I like Waddle, but I don't know how we can trade for him. We would need to pay the in-division tax. We would need to go on ahead and pay a first round. Like, look, we saw Tua get benched last week. Like, maybe Quinn Ewers is their guy for the rest of the season. If Tua truly is benched, then I think that means that everybody is on the table, so to be sold out. If Waddle can come to Buffalo, make it happen. Dan, this might sound crazy, but what if we offer something wild to the Vikings for JJ, maybe 2 FRP and Coleman for him? Is the wild. He's like the highest paid wide receiver in the league, or one of them. So that would have to be Bean going completely out of character. And I don't think that Minnesota is at least under the belief that their season is done. So don't think that would happen, but who knows? I'm pretty sure Josh has the authority to audible and check all he wants. I miss when he'd audible for those tunnel screens out of the trips. Right? And for some reason, we just don't see it like this year. Like, we need him to go on ahead, sack up a little bit, and say that he hears an absolute disgusting play call. Like, do it. We can't stop the run, and we have no awareness at all. And was just flipping the play and bad, and all the way around. McDermott thinks he's better than he is. This is not a good football team. Well, hey, you know what? Let's let them play the rest of the games before we give that title to them. Get Addison from the Vikings. He would also be interesting to me as well. Last few weeks were a shakeout. Get rid of the weak hands. It's nothing but up from here. Horn Hunter, I love that. All right, folks. That's going to have to do it for another edition of the Dom Mafia Report. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. I am live Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. EST, breaking down everything that there has to do with the Buffalo Bills. It's Carolina Panthers week. So I will begin previewing Bills and Panthers. So make sure that you subscribe, you turn on bell notifications, and let's get into business, folks. Thank you so much. Shout out to all the sponsors that regularly support this channel. Shout out to everyone that tunes in. And I will see you a bit later for Fourth and Forever on the Roundtable Sports Network and the AFC East Roundtable later this evening. See y'all.